By 8:17 on Monday morning, my receptionist was already standing when I stepped out of the elevator. She didn't say good morning. She came around the front desk, lowered her voice, and pressed a pale pink message slip into my hand, like it might burn through my skin. "The bar called," she whispered. Then again, "The bar called." The hallway outside my suite smelled faintly of cleaning solution and burnt espresso drifting up from the cafe downstairs. Through the glass wall of reception, I could see my 9:15 clients already seated in conference room A, their portfolios lined up neatly in front of them, both pretending not to look at me. My office sat in the center of downtown, 5 floors above an escrow company and across from the county courthouse. On most mornings, that view made me feel steady. That morning, it didn't. I looked down at the message slip. State bar intake urgent. Verification required complaint filed overnight under attorney's name. My name, not against me, as me. I read it again, slower. Then I looked up at Lauren. "Who took the call?" "I did," she said. "Then Daniel Reeves from intake left a voicemail on your direct line. He said the filing included your bar number, your signature, and a request for immediate review. He needs to confirm whether you submitted it." My stomach tightened. Immediate review didn't happen by accident. It meant whoever filed it knew exactly how to make it move fast. It meant someone wanted action before anyone had time to stop it, or question it, or contain it. I started toward my office. Then I stopped. My door was already open. Lauren followed my eyes. "I didn't let her past reception," she said quickly. "She told security downstairs there was a family emergency. By the time I got off the phone, she didn't finish. She didn't need to. I already knew." I stepped inside. And there she was, my mother. Margaret Sloan, sitting across from my desk like she owned the space. Ankles crossed, handbag resting neatly on her lap. Completely composed, like she was waiting for a lunch reservation. Not sitting in the middle of something she had started. She wore a beige wool coat, collar folded neatly back, lipstick perfectly set, silver hair pinned low at the nape of her neck. My office windows threw morning light across the glass credenza behind her, and she looked completely at home in my space. That bothered me more than the complaint. She looked up and smiled, no warmth. "There you are," she said. Then, calm as ever. "You needed discipline. I didn't sit." "What did you file?" She tilted her head slightly. "I corrected a problem." That wasn't my question. Her gaze moved over my suit, my trial bag, the stack of folders under my arm. "You think because you built a nice office and keep your voice low, nobody can touch you?" That tone. Same one from years ago. Measured, certain, final. 3 weeks earlier, I had refused to let my younger brother, Ethan Sloan, use my trust account as a temporary pass-through for money tied to a failed $1.8 million condo deal. He called it a bridge. I called it what it was, an invitation to lose my license. My mother had called me selfish. Now she was sitting in my office before 9 a.m., while the state bar was asking whether I had filed an emergency complaint under my own name. I set my trial bag down slowly. "Lauren," I said without looking away from my mother, "move the Harrisons to conference room B. Tell them I'm handling a filing issue and I'll be with them shortly." Lauren nodded from the doorway. "And call security downstairs. I want the lobby footage from 7:30 forward preserved." That made my mother's eyes sharpen. "For a family matter?" she asked. "For unauthorized entry into my office before opening." Her mouth flattened. "Don't be theatrical." I ignored that. I sat down, woke my monitor, and opened the voicemail Daniel Reeves had left on my direct line. Lauren had already written part of it on the message slip. "Miss Sloan, this is Daniel Reeves with attorney discipline intake. We received an overnight submission bearing your name, bar number, and signature block. Before the matter is routed, we need to confirm whether you personally submitted the complaint and whether the request for expedited handling is authentic." My mother watched my face while the recording played. Not with concern, not with curiosity, with expectation, like she was waiting to see how the medicine worked. I opened my call log and hit redial, putting the call on speaker so Lauren could stand beside my desk with a legal pad. I wanted a witness. I wanted notes. I wanted everything anchored. The call connected on the third ring. Attorney discipline intake, Reeves. This is Rebecca Sloan, I said. Bar number 79241. I'm returning your call regarding an overnight complaint. A pause. Typing. Thank you, Miss Sloan. Before I discuss the file, I need to verify a few details. I gave him everything he asked for. Address, phone verification, registration details. Another pause, more typing. Then his tone changed. All right, he said. Thank you. I can tell you now the submission appears irregular. My mother's fingers tightened slightly around the handle of her handbag. What exactly was filed? I asked. A misconduct complaint naming your firm, he said. It references trust account activity, contact with represented parties, and alleged alteration of settlement distributions. The complainant field lists you by name. Lauren's pen moved faster. The cover note states you are reporting your own office before others can destroy evidence, he continued. It requests immediate intervention and records preservation. I looked across the desk at my mother. She didn't move, didn't blink. Instead, she said softly, "Maybe now you'll learn not to embarrass your brother." That was the first time she said brother instead of family. That mattered. "Mr. Reeves," I said, "I want a copy of the complaint and intake notes sent through your secure portal immediately. And I want the submission metadata preserved. We've already flagged the file for identity review," he said. "One moment." I heard papers shifting. Another voice in the background. Then he came back on the line. "I have intake specialist Dana Keller here. She reviewed the submission packet." A second voice came on, clipped, professional. "Identity mismatch pending manual review," she read. "Submitting party used attorney name and bar number, but credentials do not match verified account history." I leaned back slightly. "Did it come from my portal login?" I asked. "No, ma'am," she said. "That's why we halted routing." My mother's composure shifted just slightly. Hairline cracks. "Then how did it get through?" I asked. "Our public complaint form allows external submissions," Dana said. "But when someone identifies as a licensed attorney and requests expedited review, the file is manually screened." I stared at the skyline through my office window for 1 second, just to steady the pulse. Then, "Read me the intake notes. All of them." A pause. "Ma'am," she said carefully, "this was not filed by you." Lauren inhaled beside me. "What makes you sure?" I asked. "The signature appears to be an inserted image," she said. "Not a live capture. It's identical down to compression artifacts. It appears copied." My mother shifted in her chair. "Just once. Small. Enough." "And the source?" I asked, typing. Then, submitted from an external browser session at 11:58 p.m. Source tag linked to a business network. I didn't look at Lauren. I didn't need to. "Read it," I said. "Submitted from Caldwell Realty guest Wi-Fi." My mother's office. Silence. No one spoke. Not for a full 2 seconds. Then I said, "Send everything." Silence held for a beat after the line went quiet. Then my mother stood. Slow. Controlled. "This is unnecessary," she said. "You're escalating something that could have been handled privately." I didn't answer her, because footsteps had already started behind her. Measured. Familiar. I turned. Ethan Sloan stood in my doorway, navy quarter zip. Gray slacks. One hand still on the half-open door like he had timed his entrance. He looked at me, then at my mother, then at the phone, then at Lauren, and he smiled. Small. Satisfied. That scared me more than anger would have, because it meant he thought he was still in control. "I didn't start anything," he said. "You used my name," I replied. He stepped inside like the room belonged to him, closed the door behind him. "That complaint?" he said lightly. "That was just to get your attention." Everything in me went still. Not shock. Structure. "You forged a bar complaint," I said. "To get my attention?" He shrugged. "You weren't listening." Lauren stopped writing. just for a second, then continued. Dana, I said into the phone, note that statement. I am, she said. Ethan's jaw tightened. Too late. Nolan, I stopped myself, corrected. Ethan, I said, what exactly were you trying to get my attention about? He didn't answer immediately. He looked at our mother. That told me everything. Then he said it. The trust account. Lauren's pen froze. Completely. I felt it then. Not fear. Alignment. Everything snapped into place. The complaint. The language. The urgency. The request for preservation. Not random. Targeted. You tried to use my trust account, I said. Not a question. A fact. You locked everything down, he snapped. You made it impossible to move anything. Good, I said. His expression shifted. You were supposed to help, he said. Your family. I'm an attorney, I said. That account doesn't belong to you. He laughed once, sharp. You think this is about rules? No, I said. I think it's about exposure. That hit. He leaned forward slightly. 6 months earlier, he had put money into a riverfront redevelopment deal through a friend who called himself a developer and dressed like one. The permits stalled. The financing collapsed. And suddenly the bridge he kept talking about became a hole. He wanted me to write something, anything, a letter, a statement, something that would make it look like investor funds were being reviewed under legal oversight. Not because they were, because it sounded credible. I had refused, immediately. Now he was standing in my office trying to turn retaliation into compliance. You told me to use proper channels, he said. No, I said. I told you not to commit fraud. He pointed at the phone. You people protect each other. No, I said. We protect records. He stepped back, then leaned against the credenza like this was still a conversation he could control. You think this stops here? He said. No, I said. I think it just started. I picked up my phone again, called the bank, put it on speaker. Andrea Bell answered on the second ring. Rebecca, she said, I was about to call you. Of course she was. Go ahead, I said. A pause. Then, we placed a protective review flag on your trust portal at 6:52 this morning. Silence. Not frozen. Not yet. But flagged. Watched. Why? I asked. 2 failed credential reset attempts overnight, she said. Then a call to legal banking from someone claiming to be your accounting administrator. Ethan shifted. They requested replacement credentials, Andrea continued, a ledger export, and the process for initiating a hold without notifying the account holder. Lauren stopped writing again. The room changed. Did they give a name? I asked. Yes, she said. First Marissa, then Mara. Neither existed. What number? I asked. She read it. Same number. Ethan looked down. My mother didn't. She looked at him, fast, sharp, because now she understood. This wasn't contained anymore. Did they pass security? I asked. No, Andrea said. They failed verification. We escalated to fraud review. Good. Preserve everything, I said. Already done. Then she read the escalation note. Caller asked whether attorney trust funds could be restricted based on a family complaint before counsel had time to move assets. That was it. No more pretending. Ethan pushed off the credenza. You're twisting this, he said. No, I said. You're exposing it. Ethan's expression hardened. This isn't over, he said. No, I replied. It isn't. Dana, I said into the phone. Are you still on the line? I am. Please note that my brother Ethan Sloan is present and has acknowledged involvement in the submission. A pause. Typing. Noted, she said. Ethan exhaled sharply. I didn't say involvement, he snapped. I said the conduct needed review. You said we, I replied. Lauren didn't look up. She just kept writing. That irritated him more than if she had argued. He pulled out a chair, turned it backward, and straddled it like we were in a garage instead of a law office. You had one job, he said. Contain the situation. I had one job, I corrected. Protect my license. You were supposed to protect family. I was supposed to protect client funds. His voice sharpened. You let me get buried. There it was. Not ethics. Not concern. Exposure. 6 months earlier, he had put money into a waterfront redevelopment deal that collapsed before permits cleared. The short-term financing evaporated, and suddenly the bridge he kept talking about turned into a liability. He wanted me to make it look stable. I refused. Now he was trying to manufacture urgency. You told me to use proper channels, he said. No, I replied. I told you not to misuse mine. He leaned forward. That complaint was just to get your attention. I didn't move, didn't react, because I heard it clearly. You filed a bar complaint under my name, I said. To get my attention? You weren't listening? Dana, I said. Note that statement. I am, she said. Ethan's jaw tightened again. Too late. Nolan. I stopped, corrected myself. Ethan, I said. What exactly were you trying to get my attention about? He hesitated. Then, the trust account. Lauren's pen stopped. Not slowly. Completely. Everything aligned. The complaint language, the urgency, the preservation request. This wasn't random. This was engineered. You tried to use my trust account, I said. Not a question, a conclusion. You locked everything, he said. There was no way to move anything. Exactly. You were supposed to help. I was supposed to stop you. He laughed once, short. You think rules matter here? No, I said. Records do. He stood up abruptly. You're hiding behind systems. No, I said. You tried to use them. My mother stepped forward then. Rebecca, this can still stay private if you stop escalating. I ignored her, picked up the desk phone again, dialed. Andrea was still on the line. Rebecca, she said, there's more. Go ahead. We logged 2 online access attempts last night. External browser, unknown device fingerprint. Both failed. Ethan didn't speak. We also recorded the call to legal banking, she continued. Same callback number, same request pattern. What pattern? I asked. Access credentials, ledger export, an inquiry about initiating a hold without notifying the account holder. Lauren wrote faster. Caller asked, Andrea added, whether a relative could trigger an immediate restriction based on reported irregularities. Silence. That was the plan. Not just access, control. Preserve everything, I said again. It's already flagged for full fraud review. Good. I looked at Ethan. This isn't about rules, I said quietly. This is about documentation. He shook his head. You're making this bigger than it is. No, I said. You did that. He opened his mouth again. I didn't let him. Ethan, I said. What exactly were you planning to do once you had access? He didn't answer, because now he couldn't. The systems were already ahead of him, and for the first time since he walked in, he knew it. Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't, because the room had already shifted. This wasn't negotiation anymore. It was documentation. My mother stepped in again, voice lower now, tighter. Rebecca, you're turning this into something it doesn't need to be. I looked at her. You walked into my office, I said, and used my name to file a disciplinary complaint. I signed what needed to be signed. Lauren's pen stopped, audibly. Dana, I said, please repeat that back into the record. A pause. Then, third-party speaker states, I signed what needed to be signed, Dana read. End quote. My mother turned toward the phone. Too late. That was the moment she understood. Not emotionally, structurally. Every word now had a place, a time, a record. Ethan moved immediately. Of course he did. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a large envelope. Flat. Stamped. Filed. He placed it on my desk and tapped it once. If the bank route didn't work, he said, the court will. I didn't touch it. What is it? Emergency petition, he said. Filed this morning. Of course it was. I pulled it toward me. Opened it. Slow. Because I already knew. Probate division. Emergency filing. Temporary conservatorship. My father's name at the top. Ethan's name underneath. Proposed conservator. I kept reading. Allegations, vulnerability, financial risk, interference. Then, there it was, the line. The respondent attorney has initiated self-reporting to disciplinary authorities. I stopped. Everything aligned. The complaint. The petition, not separate, designed. The complaint wasn't collateral, I said quietly. No one spoke. It was the engine. Lauren stepped closer. Time? I asked. She checked the clock. 10:18. I scanned the last page. Hearing time, 11:30, less than 90 minutes. My mother stepped forward. If you stop turning everything into a war, this can still be handled quietly. I looked up at her. You filed an emergency petition accusing me of exploiting my father. It says what needed to be said. It says what helps Ethan. Ethan leaned back slightly, watching. You can explain all of that to the judge, he said. I turned the page again. The declaration, supposedly signed by my father, time-stamped, 9:12 p.m. Sunday. I didn't react. I reached for my phone, opened my voicemail, played the message. 9:16 p.m. My father's voice, slow, confused, asking if he could take antibiotics with tea. Not a man executing legal declarations. I set the phone down. Ethan, I said, were you sitting next to him when he signed this? He knew what it was, he said. My mother answered instead. He was tired. We helped him. That word again. Helped. I picked up the desk phone again, dialed probate clerk. Clerk's office. A voice answered. I gave the case number. Waited. Yes, counsel, she said. The petition is set for emergency review at 11:30. Any temporary orders issued? No. Good. Has service been initiated? A courtesy copy was transmitted to the civil deputy desk due to the emergency request. Of course. Who filed the petition? I asked. A pause. Typing. Registered filer. Ethan Sloan. I looked up. He didn't look away. Callback number? I asked. She read it. Same number. Again. Lauren closed her eyes briefly, then kept writing. Thank you, I said, and ended the call. I looked at both of them. The systems are talking to each other now, I said. Neither of them responded, because they understood exactly what that meant. Is the transaction number visible in the clerk copy? I asked. Yes, Lauren said. Read it. She did. I wrote it down, ended the call, then dialed the compliance line for the remote notarization platform listed on the certificate. My mother stepped forward. Rebecca. Enough. I held up a hand. Didn't look at her. A compliance analyst answered after 2 transfers. Compliance? This is Priya. I gave her the transaction number, the name, the date. I only need status verification, I said. I'm counsel reviewing a filed declaration. She asked me to hold. No one in the room spoke. Soft piano filled the silence. When she came back, her tone had changed. Ma'am, she said, the transaction number you provided does not correspond to a completed notarization. I looked up slowly. Ethan stopped leaning. What does it correspond to? I asked. An attempted session, she said. Identity verification failed. No completed certificate was issued. Lauren's pen froze, then moved again. Do you have origin data? I asked. Yes, she said. The session originated from a commercial office network, registered as Caldwell Realty Conference Wi-Fi. My mother closed her eyes. Just once. That was enough. No completed notarization. Failed verification. Her network. What happened after the session failed? I asked. 3 identity prompts failed, Priya said. Session closed. No valid notarial act was completed. I looked down at the declaration on my desk. The seal, the signature, clean, professional, false. Can you send a written confirmation? I asked. We can issue a limited verification, she said. Confirming that no completed notarization exists for that transaction. Send it, I said. She asked for my email. I gave it. My mother made a small sound. Almost interruption, then stopped herself. Ethan didn't. That proves nothing, he said too quickly. Dad signed it in person. With who? I asked. Silence. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. With the notary that doesn't exist, I said. You twist everything, he snapped. No, I said. You fabricate it. The email came through less than a minute later. Subject line, transaction status verification. I opened it, read it once, then turned the monitor toward Lauren. Short, clinical, final, no completed notarization, no valid certificate. Lauren printed it without asking. I checked the time, 10:39. Enough time to get to court. Not enough time for them to fix this. I gathered everything, petition, compliance letter, banknote, bar intake record, all of it into my litigation folder. Call Dad, I said. Ethan's face changed. Finally, real. Why? He asked. Because when the judge asks if this is real, I said, I want to know if you plan to keep lying in front of him. My mother stepped forward. He's resting. I picked up my keys. Then you better hope he wakes up before the judge does. We didn't speak on the way out. We didn't need to. Everything that mattered was already recorded. We were halfway to the courthouse when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on Bluetooth. Miss Sloan, a clerk said. This is Judge Serrano's chambers. The court has reviewed the emergency filing. The judge is requiring the declarant and the notarizing party to appear in person if the petitioner intends to rely on that declaration. Lauren looked at me. I tightened my grip on the wheel. Because there was no notarizing party to bring. And if my father walked into that courtroom, confused, medicated, or honest, the entire thing would collapse. By the time we reached probate, Ethan and my mother were already outside Department 7. They weren't alone. My father was there, in a wheelchair, navy cardigan, still, quiet. My mother stood behind him with both hands on the handles like she was presenting him, not helping him. His skin looked pale under the courthouse lights, the IV tape marks still faint on his wrist. There was no notary. That told me everything before the hearing even started. Judge Serrano took the bench at 11:32. Already irritated. Emergency calendars do that. Ethan appeared on his own behalf. I appeared for myself. My father sat beside him. My mother angled toward him slightly, like she could still control how he looked at the room. The judge opened the file, read, then looked up. Mr. Sloan, he said, my clerk advised Chambers that your petition relies on a remote notarized declaration. Is the notarizing party present? No, Your Honor, Ethan said. The declaration is complete on its face. It may appear complete, the judge said, but Chambers required that party to appear. We were unable to secure that. That is not a phrase I enjoy hearing in emergency matters. Then he turned to me. Miss Sloan, I stood. Your Honor, I have a compliance verification from the notarization platform confirming that the transaction number attached to this declaration did not result in a completed notarization. No certificate was issued. The room shifted. Not visibly, structurally. I handed the document to the bailiff, then the bar intake record, then the bank fraud note, then the filing details. Judge Serrano read the compliance letter once, then again, slower. Mr. Sloan, he said, do you have any basis to dispute this verification? Ethan hesitated. My father signed it. That was not my question. Silence. The document before me carries a certificate tied to a transaction that did not complete. So I will ask again. Do you have any basis to dispute that no notarization occurred? Ethan glanced at my mother. That was his mistake. The judge saw it. Not at this time, Ethan said. The judge set the document down, then looked at my father. Mr. Sloan, did you review this petition before it was filed? My father blinked. Slowly. I signed something, he said. He told me it was for insurance. Did you read this petition? He touched the paper, lightly. No. Silence. I didn't ask for a conservator. The air changed. I didn't ask the court to stop my daughter from seeing me. My mother leaned forward. Thomas. Mrs. Sloan, the judge said without looking at her. You are not speaking. Then he asked, do you believe your daughter is exploiting you financially? My father looked at me. Really looked. Then said, She's the only one who told me not to sign things when I was medicated. No one moved. No one spoke. Judge Serrano looked back down at the file, then up again. "Mr. Sloan," he said, "this court will not grant emergency relief based on a declaration the signer disavows and a notarization that does not exist." Ethan tried to speak. "Too late. This petition is denied. Flat. Final. Then, this declaration and its certificate will be preserved for authenticity review. A beat. This matter is referred to the probate investigator. Another. The clerk will transmit these records to county council." Ethan didn't move, didn't argue, didn't speak. "And Mr. Sloan," the judge added, "you will be responsible for reasonable fees and costs incurred in responding to this filing." That landed last? Because it always does. Outside the courtroom, everything changed. The investigator approached my father first, asked if he would speak privately. He said yes. My mother didn't raise her voice. She did something worse. She turned to Ethan and said, "I told you to wait, not stop. Wait." Lauren heard it. So did the deputy standing nearby. I went downstairs, sat on a stone bench near security, and called the state bar back. "Add the court outcome to the file," I said. They did. By that afternoon, the complaint was no longer a risk. It was evidence. By late afternoon, the complaint was locked permanently as a fraudulent submission, not a disciplinary matter. It never touched my record. It never became an investigation against me. It became evidence. Then I called Andrea at the bank. Fraud had already escalated the overnight activity. The failed credential resets, the recorded call, the same callback number used across everything. No money moved. No client funds left my trust account. No hold was placed. No ledger export was released. The only thing they succeeded in creating was a cleaner trail. The rest of that week moved fast. The bar's identity unit requested a formal packet. I gave them everything. The intake notes, the source tag tied to my mother's office network, the copied signature reference, the building footage, the guest access logs, the internal network activity showing the Sunday night device, and a declaration from my network administrator detailing the failed scan attempts and USB export. The bank provided their own records, fraud notes, call summaries, confirmation that the same number appeared in the bank contact, the bar complaint, and the court filing. The probate clerk certified the petition packet and hearing record, and the compliance verification confirmed what we already knew. The notarization was fiction. When you lay those things side by side, a family story becomes a sequence. And once it becomes a sequence, people stop arguing about feelings and start naming conduct. 3 weeks later, a detective from the County Economic Crimes Unit sat across from me in my office. He wasn't interested in emotions. He was interested in patterns. "The same number," he said, "shows up in the complaint, the bank contact, and the court filing." I nodded. "That's the point." He leaned back slightly. "Discredit you fast enough," he said, "to get control of records before anyone could stop it." Exactly. But the system moved faster, because they force too many systems to touch the same lie. And once that happens, the lie starts breaking apart on its own. What they actually pulled from my office didn't help them. Old files, outdated drafts, a copied signature image, enough to imitate process, not enough to survive it. That's why the complaint sounded legal, but wrong. It wasn't built by someone who understood the system. It was built by someone trying to mimic it. The harder part was my father. The investigator met with him privately. No pressure, no voices, just him. After that, a recommendation was made, temporary neutral oversight for his financial paperwork during recovery. Not because he was incapable, because he was vulnerable, medicated, tired, easy to steer. He agreed, and he signed something else, simple, clear. No family member, not me, not Ethan, not my mother, could submit legal or financial documents in his name without independent review during his recovery. That should have felt like a loss. It didn't. It felt like the first honest document in the entire situation, A month later, he apologized. Not dramatically, not emotionally, just, I should have shut her down years ago. That was enough. Everything else happened quietly, officially, irreversibly. My firm didn't collapse. It got tighter, stronger, more controlled. The Harrisons signed with me that same week. They had heard more than I wanted them to hear that morning, but they also saw exactly how I handled pressure. 2 more referrals came from them within a month. Lauren was promoted, not out of kindness, because she earned it. She documented, she preserved, she understood something most people don't. Evidence exists for a very short window before it disappears, if no one moves fast enough to lock it down. We changed everything after that. New access controls, separate systems, no casual entry, no exceptions, not even for family. It cost money. It bought certainty. Months later, I sat alone in my office after everyone had left. I opened the secure folder, final documents, bar fraud lock notice, bank confirmation of no loss, court fee award, compliance verification, criminal summaries, civil resolutions. I didn't look at them because I was reliving anything. I looked at them because I wanted to understand what had actually happened. My mother thought a signature made her me. Ethan thought legal language arranged correctly would become truth if it reached the right place fast enough. They both believed systems were just rooms you could manipulate. They were wrong. Because once a lie enters enough systems, it stops being a story. It becomes a record, and records don't care who you are. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the story. If something like this happened to you, what would you do? Would you confront your family immediately? Or would you stay calm and start collecting proof first? I'd really like to know what you think. Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.